Debt ceiling standoff. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is set to meet with President Biden tomorrow to break the gridlock on negotiations and hopefully make a breakthrough on the out-of-control spending in Washington. Meanwhile, our next guest is leading the charge on money already wasted, specifically the billions of taxpayer dollars that went to fraudsters during the COVID pandemic. Joining us now is Kentucky Republican and ranking member of the Small Businesses and Entrepreneurship Committee, Senator Rand Paul. Senator, I appreciate you joining us this evening. I do want to ask you about this new report that came out yesterday suggesting that $5.4 billion in PPP loans, the money that was meant to help local and small businesses stay alive during the height of the pandemic, was actually spent on people using false Social Security numbers. Do you feel like this is the result of bills that maybe nobody read and with no oversight?
You know, without question, and this is a mistake that often happens. Government just opens these programs and everybody says, oh, we've got a big heart, we need to help people, until you find out people were buying Lamborghinis and Bentleys and Porsche, you know, cars, sports cars, fancy cars, yachts, boats. And now what we've discovered is about 70,000 people actually got money, significant amount of money, $5 billion, and they got this by putting the wrong Social Security number. You would think that'd be pretty easy to check, but government's not very good at oversight, and this is why government ought to be out of the business of printing up and handing out money to everyone. And yet we're still in this so-called emergency pandemic state that the Democrats put us in, and to this day, this stuff is still going on.
You know, it's actually kind of timely if you think about it, because House Speaker Kevin McCarthy was on the show last night. He's going to meet with President Biden tomorrow to talk about the debt ceiling. And here's what Kevin McCarthy had to say about that yesterday with us.
Does anyone believe that there's not waste in government? Does anyone believe there's no place that we could find savings? I believe there's a lot of places we could find savings. So no, we're not just going to raise the debt ceiling without finding ways that we can change our behavior.
So, Senator, here's the thing. In a memo today, the White House says that they want to see Republicans put forward a budget plan. Their view is we want to raise this debt ceiling. We want to keep spending, keep growing government. Obviously, this report gives credence to the fact of how much waste and fraud exists. What approach do you think McCarthy should take tomorrow? Should he lay out a bunch of examples and say, here's a bunch of waste, cut this first? Or should he sort of, like, you know, we asked him later in the show, and he sort of wants this to be a conversation?
I think we should draw the line with dead people. I think, for example, dead people shouldn't be allowed to receive money. That should be the lowest of the low bars, is dead people. 1,000 dead people got pandemic checks for $1 billion worth. And when I tried to have legislation to stop this from happening, a Democrat hysterically ran to the floor objecting because he was worried about the privacy rights of dead people. So, I mean, we have real problems. At Christmas time, I do a Festivus report every year. This year, we pointed out $482 billion worth of waste. And I'll give you one or two examples. $2.4 million to inject beagles with cocaine, to study what are the adverse effects of cocaine. Well, you think we might just go out on the streets of San Francisco and look at all the addicts on cocaine and say, you know what, we could study the humans that are in this miserable condition without injecting it into dogs. Here's one of the worst. Marvel Comics has somebody named Thanos. He's an evil overlord, and he has metal fingers, and when he snaps, lightning comes out of his fingers. Well, someone in the government thought it would be a great idea to spend $118,000 to get some guy some metal gloves and have him try to snap and see if he could snap his fingers with metal gloves, and it turns out you can't. It's make-believe. That cost us $118,000, $700,000 to study what kind of advances the male parrot uses to attract the female parrot.
Yeah, so President Biden says that there's nothing to be cut.
Yeah.
Right, and exactly. President Biden saying there's not waste that can be cut. Obviously there is, as you just pointed out. Senator, I wish we had more time for you because there's so much more to break down, but appreciate you being with us this evening.
Thank you.